Hello, friends, and welcome back to Big Goal Energy. Today's episode is incredibly personal, honest, and I'm going to share with you the ending of one chapter and the beginning of a brand new chapter. Today, I'm going to share with you why I am shutting down my coaching business. If you've listened to this podcast for a while, you know that this has been coming transparently for years behind the scenes. I have felt this rumbling inside of me, this whisper of what's next. And as so many of us high achieving women do, I told myself I needed to focus on what I was doing, that I needed to make this business work. But this year, that whisper has become just impossible to ignore. So I have now spent nearly a decade trying to scale my coaching business, pushing, hustling, optimizing, reinventing, only to watch it plateau year after year. And even last year, my biggest year ever, it still was not aligned with where I wanted to go and what I wanted to be doing. So this year, everything stopped. Nothing worked. No amount of effort that I put forward moved the needle. So I had no choice this year but to surrender, get quiet, get still. It's been in that sacred pause, a beautiful phrase gifted to me from Dr. Yemi Penn, that I heard the truth super clearly. I didn't actually want to scale this business that I've been building for the last 10 years. So yeah, I had a literal funeral for my business on the Scorpio new moon in mid-November because it's become so clear to me this year that it's time to let the old die so that something greater can be born. So if you have ever outgrown a dream, felt that rumble of what's next, or just really known deep down that staying where you are would cost you more than leaving, this episode is for you. And I am so excited to take you on this journey, pull back the curtain and really show you what it's been like to decide that it's time to walk away and start something new. So welcome to Big Goal Energy, and I will see you in the episode.
You were never meant for a small life. You have bold ideas, audacious dreams, and visions that keep you up at night. But the truth is, big goals don't come with step-by-step instructions, and success doesn't come from doing more. It comes from becoming more. Welcome to Big Goal Energy, a podcast for high-achieving women who are done shrinking, striving, and second-guessing, and are ready to defy reality in pursuit of the life they actually want. I'm your hostess, Bree Seeley, goal architect, subconscious strategist, and your permission slip to want what you want. Join me as we go beyond the surface level success to explore the mindset, identity, and inner work required to bring your biggest, most delulu goals to life. This is your space to be seen, to be expanded, and to remember that you are not alone on this journey. Let's get into it.
Oh, all right, y'all. Welcome back to Big Goal Energy. I am actually really excited to do this episode today because this is a question I get asked a lot. If you're familiar with my journey, you know that 10 years ago, I shut down my fashion business. And at that point, I had no idea what was next for me. This time, I've known what's next for the last 2.5 years, and I've been ignoring it. What I know to be true in both experiences is that when you know that you are out of alignment, when you know that something no longer fits you and that something new is inviting you in, we get two options. We can either ignore it or we can listen. I got this idea for what I'm moving into 2.5 years ago, and I ignored it. But in 2025, it got so loud that I couldn't ignore it any longer. One of the questions I've gotten a lot in my coaching business is, okay, Bree, how do you know that it's time to walk away from something? How do you know that it's time for something to end? I've always said, if you're still questioning it, it's not time. When the questions become a statement, then it's time. Then you have to let it go. From 2023 to 2025, it's been a question in my mind. In 2025, it became a statement. It became what you've been building is not it. This bigger, bolder vision that had come to me, I kept putting it off. Our brains are a record of the past. Our brains are like a library. It's only full of what's already been. Our brains are not like a psychic. Our brains cannot think into what has not yet happened. my brain kept convincing me that I just needed to make my coaching business work, not because that was the correct decision, but it's because that's what my brain knew. I have been focused on scaling my coaching business since 2016. But no matter how hard I've tried, how much I've pushed, how much I've hustled or not hustled, or meditated or not meditated, my business remained roughly at the same level year after year. 2024 was my largest year in business, but it was still nowhere near where I wanted it to be. Now, some people might not understand this, but I have known for a very long time that I am here on this earth to make a very, very big impact. Ask me where it came from. I have no idea. I don't know why I know this within me, but I do know this within me. So if I were here to just create an easy 6-figure business, literally my business was at 6 figures no matter how hard or how little I tried. I could do no work and my business still brought in 6 figures. I could do all the work, my business still brought in 6 figures. I also had to stop and realize that as much as my business was successful, it was still nowhere near where I wanted it to be. In 2025, my business just stopped. Nothing was working. No amount of pushing or hustling was bringing results. I was given no choice but to surrender. In this surrender, I had to get quiet. I had to get still and I had to pause, which most of us are not very familiar or comfortable doing. I was very blessed to have a call with Dr. Yemi Penn in either August or September. And she presented it to me as this idea of the sacred pause. When she said those words to me, I instantaneously started crying. It was just this thing that I knew I had kind of been in, but also had been fighting for many months this year. But the sacred pause is the space where you have to be so quiet and listen so that you can hear the truth. And my truth was that I didn't actually want to scale this business. In fact, when I tuned into that energy of scaling my coaching business, it felt heavy, dense, and immovable. You can only push something so hard before it or you breaks. Unfortunately, I broke. I had a shoulder condition, became completely immobile, in tons of chronic pain, and I could not physically keep pushing. Now you're like, Brie, you're not physically pushing your business. I get that, but there is a certain level of safety that you have to have in your nervous system and in your body to keep going. And it got to the point where a year ago, I could not keep going. In June, I ended up having a call with a guy who had emailed me out of the blue and said, I can help you scale your business to $100,000 in sales per month. And I was like, all right, show me. How are you going to do this? He and I were talking, we're in this conversation, and he's like, this is how we're going to do it. And I was like, okay, let's math some math for just a hot second. $100,000 a month would either be 4 private clients or a full mastermind. So month 1, not a big deal, either 4 private clients or 10 mastermind clients. Month 2, also not as big of a deal. I'd then have either 8 private clients or 2 masterminds running at the same time. But we're to month 6. So my contracts are 6 months long. I would still be working with the same people from month 1, which means that I would be doing 75 hours per month of coaching. Plus, if that were the mastermind, I'd be running 1 out-of-state retreat per month. I'd be available online and via email for up to 60 clients. I looked at the numbers. I looked at how much I was going to have to work. Mind you, this is just coaching. This is not including marketing. This is not including financials. This is just working in the business. I realized that that didn't work for me. This business model that I was currently in did not work for me. So here's the hard part. I get the realization that this isn't going to work for me. I don't want to scale this business. This isn't actually where I think my legacy lives. I had to start telling a bunch of people. A lot of my clients went through some grief. They were not happy with me saying, hey, I'm not going to be available to work with you any longer. My husband didn't immediately understand it. I don't think my family fully understood it. In their minds, they're like, you're doing an easy 6 figures a year. Why would you walk away from that? Why wouldn't you just keep going? The truth is, I have to follow the nudges, the signs, and the messages. I have a blueprint within me that I believe I put here before I even came to the planet. And if I'm out of integrity with that, if I'm out of alignment with that, then obviously things fall apart. I have to follow the energy because I'm not here to just continuously beat dead horses. It's a waste of my fucking time. I'm here to leave a legacy. And if what I'm doing isn't it, then I need to have the courage to make the changes and pivot into what is it. And here's what I do know. What I've done over the last 10 years has given me a front row seat to work with over 20,000 women. And what I'm building next is the piece de resistance as a culmination for this work. And it feels exciting again. For the last few years, showing up in my coaching business, having to market, having to figure out trainings, having to do social media, all this stuff felt dense. It didn't feel exciting. I've decided I'm closing my business. I start sharing with other people that I'm closing my business. Now I actually have to do the things to close a business. So I have, in the last month, hired an attorney. I'm wrapping up all of the financials. The other day, I just closed down my Oklahoma Employment Securities Commission account. I am filing the dissolution of my Oklahoma state business license. We are filing a dissolution of my EIN. I want to make sure that I am closing this relationship with something that's been in my life for over a decade. Technically, the EIN that I got for this business, I got in 2013, which means I've had the EIN for almost 13 years. This business and I have probably spent more time together than I've spent with anything except maybe my cat. So I sat down on the Scorpio new moon and had a funeral because I really wanted to make sure to do right by closing this business. I know that it's time for the old to die, and I know that I'm ready to welcome in my new era, but I need to make sure that I'm wrapping up my business in a really productive, proactive way. I asked myself some really important questions, and I want to share the questions that I journaled about with you. So some of the questions that came up were around the new moon: what is ending? What funeral is asking me to sit vigil? What is beginning that's being born in the darkness? And then I answered questions like, how am I truly feeling about saying goodbye to this thing that's been so present in my life for 13 years? What did I learn about myself during this journey? How do I want to have a different relationship with the business that I'm building moving forward? What is the hardest part of this ending? What am I grateful for? And then I wrote a goodbye and / breakup letter / obituary. And it felt really calming and cathartic to truly just close up the energy around this as much as I could in that moment. Obviously, there's still some legal things to take care of, but there's so much of the entrepreneurial journey and process that I've outgrown that I've now kind of drawn this line in the sand saying, I'm leaving that behind. I need to know what I'm moving forward with. What does that relationship look like with my business? Who do I want to be? How do I show up as a more elevated entrepreneur in these next ventures? I'm just so excited to welcome in this new era of impact, joy, momentum, wealth, and community. And truly a completely different relationship with success, a different definition of success, a different relationship with myself as an entrepreneur. Over the next 4 episodes, I'm actually going to be sharing with you some of the massive downloads that have come through over the course of the year that have completely shifted the cadence at which I move, the energy from which I build, how I tap into my creative process, And I'm going to share all of this with you. I'm going to share what I'm building. I want to share the entire process of building something new, including going after funding for the first time after 18 years of entrepreneurship. I'm so glad you're here. And if you are at this pivot point of something is dying and something new is beginning, you are so not alone. What's interesting, I was just talking to someone about this today, is that despite everything crumbling this year, if you know, we're also in the process of selling our beautiful home that we live in. Literally nothing in my life looks the same than it did last year. Everything has crumbled. Despite everything crumbling, I can tell you that my faith is stronger than it ever has been before. My courage, my boldness, somehow in the midst of everything falling apart and nothing working, those things, the volume's been turned up. There's been gas poured on the fire. And I'm just so excited to be going through this journey and be sharing it here with you. I'll be sharing it on both the podcast and also my Substack. Be sure to subscribe on one or both platforms. If you go to Substack, it's breeseely13.substack.com. This podcast is on all of the platforms: Spotify, Amazon, Apple, Google. Make sure that you are subscribed. Over the next 4 episodes, I'm going to be sharing some of the big messages that came through this year and giving you insights and tips for starting over again after 18 years of entrepreneurship at the age of 42. Thank you for joining me for this brilliant episode. I am really excited to get you the next 4 episodes with all of the most pertinent messages I received this year. Feel free to hit me up anytime. Would love to chat with you about the pivot that you're in or any questions that you have. Happy to feature them as podcast episodes as well. Happy December. We're almost into a new year. I'm so excited for it and sending you so much love as we're all on this journey together.
If this episode lit something up in you, share it. Text it to a friend, post it to your stories, or leave a review, because Big Goal Energy is meant to be felt far and wide. And if you're ready to go deeper, explore the tools, hypnosis sessions, and support because your vision deserves more than hustle, join us on the Big Goal Energy app by visiting your app store and typing in Big Goal Energy. Your vision, your goals deserve alignment, ease, and your fullest self behind them. Until next time, trust yourself, dream bigger, and never forget, you are here for greatness.